successful would you say the administration's efforts to stem root flow, to get to the root causes of migration?
We believe that we've done a good job working with our partners in the region to try to get at some of the root causes, including political instability and crime.
Well, Reuters writes it this way about U.S. officials and action from the Biden administration. Mexico's president agrees more border enforcement needed. Top U.S. officials, including Secretary of State Anthony Blinken, Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, and U.S. Homeland Security Advisor Elizabeth Sherwood Randall, will travel to Mexico in coming days to meet with the Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador. Meantime, migrant encounters at the southern border, these numbers are astounding. 200,000 plus since December 1st, and just in the last 24 hours, 11,600. That number, right around there, 12,000, is unsustainable, according to the people on the border. Let's bring in our panel. Washington Post columnist Mark Thiessen, Leslie Marshall, Democratic strategist, and Josh Kraushaar is a Fox News radio political analyst. Josh, first to you. We've been talking about immigration. Bill Melugin has been down on that border, back and forth for months and months, more than a year. It seems like it's coming to a head. Is that a fair assessment?
It's absolutely the biggest political vulnerability that this White House is facing heading into a big re-election year. I mean, look, the president's job approval on immigration is in the 20s. You have Democratic mayors in deep blue cities that are raising warnings about the flow of migrants that are straining their city's social services. And, you know, you do see some action. You're finally starting to see some movement from the White House in discussing a big national security package that would pair additional border security measures with funding for Ukraine and Israel. But look, I think the American people want to see a greater focus on what's happening. The record number of migrants heading from Mexico to Texas and within the United States. And I think that's why you're seeing some action domestically with Tony Blinken heading to Mexico and a lot of other top White House officials. They know it's a big problem, both substantively, and it's a big political problem, Brett, heading into the re-election.
Yeah, Mark, talking about those polls, Fox News poll, 8 in 10 voters think the situation at the border is either an emergency or a major problem. And you look at who's is best able to handle the border, according to the Wall Street Journal poll. Former President Trump at 54%, President Biden at 24%.
Yeah, it's a disaster for the country. It's a disaster for Joe Biden. But the reason they're getting serious about it is not because of the polls primarily. It's not because the crisis has gotten worse, because it's been getting worse every year for 3 years. It's because Republicans are forcing them, because they're saying we're not going to pass aid to Ukraine or Israel or Taiwan until this is passed. So the Republicans are using their leverage to force the Biden administration to do something about this crisis. I mean, Jay Johnson said in 2019, 1,000 encounters at the border would overwhelm the system. We just hit a record of 12,000 last week and then broke it a week later at 12,600. It can't go on. And so the combination of things, the combination of pressure from Capitol Hill, pressure from the border, is forcing them to finally act. And wouldn't it be good for Joe Biden if this time, if in November of next year, things were back down to where they were under Barack Obama? that might help his reelection prospects. It's in his own interest to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as I mentioned, Leslie, Bill Melugin has been down on the border doing amazing work for a long time. Just the past couple of days, he's been talking to some of the migrants coming across that border, where they're from. Take a listen.
Where in the United States do you want to go?
Detroit.
California.
New York City.
Nueva York.
New York City. I have family members there.
Where are you guys from?
India.
India. Everybody here from India?
Yeah, India.
Where do you guys want to go in the United States? What city?
California.
California? Yes. California? Everybody here, California?
Yes.
New Jersey.
I mean, take a look at this map. Migrant countries of origin. They've got 64,000 from Mexico, 45,000 from Venezuela. You've got Honduras, Guatemala, Colombia, India, you just heard, 8,500. El Salvador, 7,500. China, 7,000. Brazil, 2,700. Philippines, 4,700. Leslie, We hear that the Arizona governor, a Democrat, Katie Hobbs, is going to deploy the National Guard. We haven't seen that physically on the border yet. Clearly, Democrats in border states are active, as are the New York City mayor and other blue states that say it's untenable. Why isn't a deal getting done faster, do you think?
Well, I think one, to Mark's point, and Democrats do it, Republicans do it. It's sort of like we're going to hold, item A hostage and, until you work with us on item B. Immigration shouldn't be a left or right issue. Immigration is not just a president left or right issue. It is a congressional issue. It is multifaceted. I say it all the time. You need the president to act, but even more so, you need Congress to act when you have antiquated asylum laws. And you do have to look at, and we're not clearly doing enough, I don't care if it's Biden, Trump, whoever, with what makes so many people continue to come here. Yes, we're a great nation, but think about it. Why would you pack up and leave your home, maybe a home that you've known for generations, the only home that you've ever known generations back? There are problems there, whether it's a lack of food, whether it's a lack of security, and we're talking about violence, we're talking about money, politics and intimidation and the gangs and the cartels, the list goes on. So this is a huge problem. And, some people say build a wall. These are all Band-Aids. Together, you need major reconstructive surgery. But together is key here, Brett. Together, Congress and the president, I don't care who's in charge of Congress, and I don't care who's in the White House, they need to work together because this is an American problem. And to the political point, Arizona is one of those 4 states this election is going to come down to. It's a border state. It's a huge issue for Americans and voters, and more specifically for those in voters in the border states.
Mark, I heard you trying to respond there. I do want to point out that the former Border Patrol chief says 80% of this could be fixed with Remain in Mexico policy being back in place. That's his assessment. Mark, you were going to say.
Yeah, he's 100% right. I mean, Joe Biden came in and undid all of Trump's border policies that were working. I mean, here's the thing, Leslie, is that Joe Biden has the exact same laws on the books that Donald Trump and Barack Obama had when they secured the border. Yet they didn't have this border crisis. It's because this is a matter of presidential will. Sure, it'd be great if Congress passed more money, did certain things, but the reason Congress has to act is because they're forcing the president to do what he ought to do with the executive authority he already has. This is a crisis of choice. This is a crisis that happened because Joe Biden came in and because of Trump derangement syndrome undid anything that Donald Trump did on the basis of the fact that Donald Trump did it, therefore it must be bad. And Barack Obama was the deporter in chief. Deportations are down to the lowest levels on record. Why doesn't he just do the Obama policies?
All right, we're
can
going to
I
have to leave
respond
it there.
really quick?
Really quickly.
Okay. Look, immigration has been a problem for over 30 years in this country. 1, 2. Remain in Mexico is another Band-Aid. It is not a solution. It is temporary, and we need something permanent. And it doesn't address the backlog. None of this does.
I'll take an 80% Band-Aid.
Okay. All right. Up next, the Do Nothing Congress. You all did not do a single spending bill after Thanksgiving. There's really not clarity what the top line is. So how do you avoid a government shutdown when it comes to January, considering where you are right now?
We got it into January, February, so now there's sufficient time to do the negotiations. We do need to agree upon the final top line so that our appropriators can get in the room and hash it out. But this is another situation where we're waiting on the Senate to act.
Well, Speaker Johnson, talking about what the spending bills, New York Times writes this: House dysfunction by the numbers, 724 votes, only 27 laws enacted. Tally reflects the extraordinary chaos and paralysis that gripped the House in 2023 when lawmakers did more voting but less lawmaking than at any time in the past decade. And that's not helping in the polls. Congressional job approval is at 19% in the latest Fox News poll. That is not good. Josh?
No, it's not good at all. And you know what? It's historically typical that you get even less done in a presidential election year. So I don't think you're going to have any more legislative accomplishments heading into 2024, with the possible exception of an immigration and Ukraine aid deal. But look, I think there's a lot of blame on House Republicans. They entered this year with a very narrow House majority, and they spent the bulk of the year fighting amongst each other and defenestrating Kevin McCarthy putting Mike Johnson now as Speaker, but there are a lot of ideological divisions that are hampering the House Republican majority's ability to work with the Senate Democrats and to work with the White House. And I don't see that changing anytime soon.
And traditionally, Leslie, Democrats have been better at herding the cats, even though there are ideological differences inside that caucus as well. But Vanity Fair, the headline is Congressional Chaos Driving Lawmakers to the Exit. Lawmakers who are leaving Congress amid the chaos, the 118th Congress, 46 of them are leaving already. Leslie.
Yeah, I think in addition to the headlines, which are very factual, which I'm seeing across the board, the optics. And I think a lot of the American people, whether you're a Democrat or Republican, are saying, look, this reeks of a lack of leadership, this reeks of a lack of unity, and this reeks of a lack of priority. You're talking about censures. You're talking about let's have an impeachment inquiry. And there are a lot of votes about things that have nothing, Hunter Biden, a lot of things that have nothing to do with the top 5, 10, I would dare say even 20 issues that matter most to Americans that are voting, whether they're a Democrat, Republican, Independent, or don't want to say any of those.
And a slim majority, Mark.
It is. And slimmer now that Santos is gone. But look, can I speak in defense of doing nothing? I think a lot of Republicans are relieved to have a do-nothing Congress, and a lot of Americans are relieved to have a do-nothing Congress. What was the Democrat majority Congress doing when they were in charge? They were passing trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars of spending that unleashed the worst inflation in 40 years, the worst collapse in real wages in 4 decades, the highest gas prices on record, the highest food prices since 1979, and a massive labor shortage that has that stymied our economic recovery. And we're still digging out of those disasters. So for a lot of people, doing nothing is better than doing what the Congress was doing for the last 3 years before the Republicans took over.
Well, I'm just happy you're not a do-nothing panel. Thank you very much. I wish you the best. We'll see
Merry
you.
Christmas, Brett.